Greetings, most gracious audience. I am Sir Persevere, Knight of the Hand-Drawn Realm.
And I am Speckles, Salamander of the Hand-Drawn Realm and Sir Persevere's talking animal sidekick.
Today, we are going to venture forth into the realm of what might have been. As we all know, the world of late has been overrun with anime, CGI, and live action, while classic Western animation has been tossed into the trash heap in favor of Tumblr crap.
In fairness, there hasn't been much of anything in theaters this year because of the coronavirus lockdowns.
This is true. People like Odin's Movie Blog have extensively covered the financial collapse that is plaguing theaters, which is causing some chains to close indefinitely, maybe even forever. Speaking of which, I would recommend checking out Odin's Movie Blog. He is an articulate gentleman and scholar, not to mention a good mentor. Anyway, back to the state of animation. Fortunately, classic animation has not been going down without a fight. For starters, you have Justin Murphy and his Dogtown film, which is currently slated for a 2021 release. Fortunately, coronavirus has not slowed down the animation of the movie, though Mr. Murphy has been otherwise occupied with his War Party comic on Indiegogo. By the way, if you are into comics, please be sure to check out War Party. The link is in the description below. Second, you have Disney animation veterans working with James Lopez to create Hullabaloo. The release date of that project has yet to be determined, but they do post updates on the Hullabaloo Facebook page from time to time. The samples they have shown so far are beautiful, so I have high hopes. Third, there is the matter of Don Bluth himself. The king of classic animation himself is coming out of retirement and is partnering with Laval Lee to create Don Bluth Studios.
Well, don't forget, Mr. Bluth handed off Dragon Slayer to Netflix, and Netflix will be making the movie in live action. I don't know about you, but I did not want to see Ryan Reynolds' face plastered all over Dirk the Daring's face. It was a setback of epic proportions.
True, Speckles, that was most disappointing. Hopefully, however, Netflix will soon go bankrupt by reason of lawsuits and people with a conscience unsubscribing from that child-abusing platform. If that were to happen, Don Bluth would likely regain rights over Dragon Slayer, and then he could make the classically animated movie we all thought we would get with his new studio. Even if that does not happen, however, we still will be getting animated shorts from his new studio, so that is something to look forward to. Fourth, there is Kulopari by Trevor Price on Netflix. That show should really be on DVD. I'd buy the first and second seasons in a heartbeat.
These are all things that we established are in the works, and we haven't even found out if Kulopari is getting a third season. You said we would be looking into the realm of what might have been.
I was just getting to it, my amphibious friend. Yes, as Dragon Slayer the movie demonstrated, classic animation has suffered setbacks while trying to re-establish itself as a viable storytelling medium once again. No setbacks have been as noteworthy as the lost project of Galaxy Gas. Before I venture any further, I would like to shout out Sir Talks-A-Lot. Sir Talks-A-Lot is a man of many talents who has no shortage of creativity whatsoever. Even as it is my mission to make classic animation great again, it is his mission to make entertainment entertaining again, of which he does an excellent job. Be sure to check him out in the description below. Alright, on to Galaxy Gas. Half a year ago, an animated clip that depicted a boy meeting an alien in the deserts of New Mexico went viral. The clip was called Galaxy Gas. When it first came out, I thought maybe a movie was in the works, and we were finally going to get another film in the classic animation genre. Alas, it just wasn't meant to be. I found out a couple days later that the project in question was merely a pitch presentation, and a rejected presentation at that. Apparently, the creator of the animated clip released the pitch onto the internet mainly to show the world what we were missing out on. It certainly worked on me. I was disappointed that Galaxy Gas was not going to get approved for animation. It would have truly been a much-needed shot in the arm for the revival of classic animation. However, Laval Lee, Don Bluth's partner, interviewed Tam Murphy, the man responsible for coming up with Galaxy Gas in the first place. Mr. Lee posted that interview to the traditional animation website. I'll go ahead and read portions of the interview before giving my reaction to the pitch presentation. The link to the article is in the description below.
Before you start, I have a question.
Yes?
You've never brought up Tab Murphy on this channel before. What are his animation achievements?
According to his IMDb bio, Mr. Murphy is a screenwriter. He worked with Disney on The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Tarzan, Brother Bear, and Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So, while it doesn't seem he is an animator per se, he has worked around that medium to come up with story ideas. And his attempt to do the same for Galaxy Gas shows that he is a big fan of the idea of making classic animation great again. Alright, let's get on with the article. In the article, Laval Lee asks, what inspired you to create Galaxy Gas? Tab Murphy responds with, interestingly, Galaxy Gas began as a live-action project.
Aha! So Mr. Murphy really isn't a fan of making classic animation great again. It was originally conceived as a live-action project.
Slow down there, Speckles. Perhaps Tab Murphy is not the biggest fan of classic animation, but one cannot argue that it wound up becoming a classic animation project. I mean, which is worse? To advertise your project as a classic animation project, but then it becomes live action, like Dragon's Lair the movie, or to start off your story with the idea of having it as live action, but then it winds up as classic animation anyway, like Galaxy Gas.
I see your point, sir. One cannot argue the results.
At any rate, it seems as though Tab Murphy is more of a fan of making stories great again. I think he would find a home among the ranks of the fandom menace, given the creative bankruptcy of Hollywood versus the creativity of Mr. Murphy. Anyway, back to the article. Tab Murphy goes on to say, I'd been toying with the idea for some time. A mixed-blood teenager living in the desert southwest, working a dull job at his dad's lonely, isolated gas station, discovers that things are not what they seem. He's soon propelled into the adventure of a lifetime that ultimately leads to his decision by the end of the film to follow in his father's footsteps and be part of something important, amazing, otherworldly, and totally secret. It was a mix of a lot of cool things that I loved. Native culture, UFOs, Area 51 mythology, monsters, not to mention hard-drinking Top Gun alien fighter pilots. Laval Lee then asks, what advice would you give to artists who want to pitch a cartoon series or film? Tab Murphy answers with, apart from the usual be persistent, never give up, yada yada advice, I would say try to create something that embodies your own unique voice or point of view of the world. That is ultimately what will separate you from the pack. The attitude your project projects can be equally as important as the content. Also, don't follow trends, be a trendsetter. An old rule of thumb from live action is applicable to animation. If everyone else is writing superhero movies, go write a rom-com.
That all goes hand in hand with the idea of going against the creative bankruptcy of Hollywood.
Indeed. Clownfish TV has lamented that Hollywood isn't making new content these days, and all it's doing is rehashing old beloved stories as vomitous messes in the form of bad sequels and even more horrible remakes. I have a feeling that Neon and Geeky Sparkles would have shared my love to see Galaxy Gas become a reality. It would have been a news story that would have stood on its own, and it even has the diversity that SJWs claim they want. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Laval Lee then queries, what would you like the public to know about Galaxy Gas that has not been covered? To which Tab Murphy replies, I would say that, from the very beginning, it became a labor of love for everyone involved. That it was our intention to remind everyone, studios and audiences alike, that 2D animation was, and still is, a viable and vital art form. And just how hard everyone worked, especially Craig, to realize that goal.
I stand corrected. Mr. Murphy really does want to make classic animation great again after all.
Indeed he does.
Who is this Craig that Mr. Murphy mentioned?
His full name is Craig Peck, and he was the producer of Galaxy Gas. Laval Lee interviewed him in the same article, so let's keep reading. Laval asks Craig, "Can you tell us about yourself and your love for animation?" Craig Peck answers, "I grew up a Disney animation fanatic in the 90s. I started collecting original animation art as a child and studying the work of the greats. I joked that I could identify a Glen Keane drawing based on line thickness and his charts before I knew any work by Picasso. I realized that I wasn't going to be the next Glenn or Andreas and started focusing on producing. Disney shut down its hand-drawn animation department just as I graduated high school, so I decided to focus on live-action film work in college. At the end of my first year of grad school, Disney released The Princess and the Frog, at which point I felt drawn back to Disney and was lucky enough to be brought into their talent development program to learn animation production. From that point on, I've worked as a producer in animation." Mr. Lee asks, "How did Galaxy Gas get started and why hand-drawn?" Mr. Peck answers, "In 2012, while I was in grad school at USC, I invited Tab Murphy to coffee via his agent. Among other films, Tab wrote the screenplay for Tarzan, which had an immense impact on me growing up. I told him that my goal was to create a hand-drawn feature and asked if he had any projects that might be a good fit. Tab pitched an idea about a teenager who discovers that his father, who has devoted his life to running a decrepit gas station in the New Mexico desert, is actually using it to refuel and support a group of alien peacekeepers watching over our planet. It had a universal theme of learning to appreciate the sacrifices parents make for their children, and that there's more to them than their children might know. Plus, there was a 3.5-foot-tall cigar-smoking drunk alien in it. I immediately told Tab that I wanted to produce this. Let me pause right here and express how much I appreciate this concept. All too often, children are taught by Hollywood to hate their dads. Fathers are depicted in movies as drunken cowards who divorce their wives, abandon their kids, and run away from home. But this story would have brought in a good father figure that kids in real life could be inspired by. It truly is a pity that this story didn't get the backing it needed to give us all a good feature-length film." Craig Peck goes on to say, "My idol since childhood had been Don Hahn, and my dream had always been to produce hand-drawn films. During the production of Winnie the Pooh at Disney Animation Studios, I saw hand-drawn animation begin to fade to the background. Some incredible talent, at the height of their abilities, would become available despite the continued demand for hand-drawn American features. For the next generation to carry on the lessons from master animators, they needed the opportunity to work in the thick of production. Yes, and we all know who to blame for the fading of hand-drawn animation at Disney and replacing it with every CGI and live-action franchise under the sun. Don't we, little Bobby Igor? I can't stand that corporate hack."
Who is this Don Hahn that Mr. Peck idolizes?
A quick little bit of research reveals that Don Hahn is a film producer. Apparently, he was involved with Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King back in the day. Both of those original films are wonderful, and I would highly recommend them to anyone. At any rate, Mr. Peck also explains, "Our goal was to comprise the crew of veteran artists and less experienced artists who showed passion and could bring their own sensibilities to the show. The script allowed for a mix of hand-drawn elements that seamlessly incorporated CG for spaceships and other high-tech elements. This style was meant to set us apart from mid-range budget independent films but target an untapped audience demographic." The idea of mixing hand-animated characters with CGI props is not a new one. One famous example of this concept being put into practice would be Don Bluth's Anastasia. Naturally, Anastasia and her fellow organic characters were done with traditional animation, while the steam locomotive and the flying stone Pegasus were done in CGI, just to name a couple of props. And it's an approach that actually works pretty seamlessly if done properly. I'm a fan of the idea at any rate. It gives the hand animator some much needed respite in order to focus on making the characters as beautifully animated as possible rather than focus on drawing the background in addition to character design and movement. At any rate, I believe I'll stop reading the article there.
Is there more to the interview that people should know?
The rest of the article gives credit to the other artists involved with creating the short, as well as a commentary of the financial headaches involved with film distribution, particularly as it applies to classic animation. Anyway, I also don't wish to read the entire article because I hope people will go to the traditional animation website and show Laval Lee some love. At this time, I will be giving my reaction to the pitch presentation of Galaxy Gas itself. Roll it, Speckles.
My pleasure, sir.
First off, the pitch presentation starts with the following message. Coming only to theaters.
That would have come in handy if theaters were still open.
Indeed, Speckles. The presentation then introduces us to two important people involved with the project. Kirk Wise is credited as the director of Galaxy Gas. Apparently, Kirk Wise was also the man who directed Disney's Beauty and the Beast, as well as The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Tab Murphy is listed next. As we already discussed, he was the screenwriter for The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Tarzan, and is credited as the screenwriter of Galaxy Gas. The narrator of the pitch presentation announces that Kirk Wise and Tab Murphy will helm, quote, an exciting new animated motion picture event. When I heard those words for the first time, I thought Galaxy Gas was going to be coming out in theaters at some undetermined date. As I revealed earlier, however, that was purely wishful thinking because the presentation did not receive the funding it needed to become a full-blown movie. But the next part of the presentation shows us what we might have had. Let's resume the review. The animation begins with a view of the New Mexico landscape. Near the bottom of the screen, we see a gas station. The camera zooms in on the station, and we see the gas station is called, surprise, surprise, Galaxy Gas. The lights in the gas station flicker a little. Inside the building, a teenage boy is performing a flashy experiment. As you can see in this shot, he is preparing to strip some rubber away from the wire in his hand.
Now that is an interesting earring.
The significance behind the trinket will be explained later. Anyway, he starts plugging the newly stripped wire into his experiment. As he is doing so, the lights around him start to flicker and the building shakes.
The expression on his face is priceless.
Indeed. The boy's experiment also blows up during the flickering and shaking. The boy scrambles outside to see what is causing the disturbance. A flashy green explosion takes place seconds later, knocking him to the ground. He gets up, looks skyward, and sees what looks like a green comet flying through the air. The comet lands a couple miles away from the gas station in a mushroom cloud explosion. The boy hops on his motorcycle to investigate the crash site.
That's an interesting decorative choice for a motorcycle. I don't know if I would have used a deer head myself.
To each his own, I guess.
Oh, and the motorcycle comes with a propulsion boost? That's awesome! I wish I had a motorcycle like that. Mine is just a regular little Harley Davidson.
You never told me you're a motorcyclist.
I only recently purchased one from the real-life realm.
And how, may I ask, did you manage to buy a functioning motorcycle to fit your, diminutive stature? Because motorcycles of that size are just toys.
Oh, that's easy. Geico the Gecko has connections. He told me about this rare manufacturer that does make motorcycles for my size, and that's where Geico got his. He also offered me insurance to go with it, and I answered, "Insurance? What's that?" Before he could say anything else, I hopped onto my newly purchased motorcycle, waved to the helpful lizard, and rode off into the afternoon.
Personally, I find motorcycles very unsafe. But I'm happy for you, Speckles. Anyway, the boy uses the propulsion boost on his motorcycle and grits his teeth in determination. A little while later, he arrives at the crash site. He sees that the comet isn't a comet at all, but an alien spaceship. There are small fires on the ground behind the fallen craft. The main hatch of the ship opens, and a one-eyed, blobby alien looks out at the boy. He uses his 6 tentacles to flop out of the vehicle. He looks back at the boy and scrambles over to him. He stands on 2 stubby tentacles and flexes his 4 other tentacles in a menacing fashion. All this time, the tension is being built to make you think he is going to harm the boy. Then, in a proper subversion of expectation, the alien picks up a flaming branch with one of his tentacles and lights a cigar with it. He tosses the branch away and lets out a puff of smoke. The boy smiles and raises an eyebrow at the alien, a clear sign of familiarity with the odd-looking individual. The boy comments, "Nice landing, Ace." The alien smiles and replies, "Yup, one of my better ones." He then tosses the keys to the ship to the boy and says, "Fill her up, kid." The animation then ends with the camera showing us the same New Mexico landscape as the first shot, but now there is a plume of smoke. The words Galaxy Gas flash over the landscape before the pitch presentation transitions over to director Kirk Wise, who gives us a more in-depth look of what could have been. Kirk Wise tells us that the boy's name is Devo, who comes from a poor family in New Mexico. Devo is half Navajo and half Caucasian.
That would explain the feather. It is a tribute to his Navajo heritage.
Yep, it's also the diversity I was referencing earlier, with humans of all kinds and aliens and everything. SJWs claim to love diversity, even though they treat diverse human characters like checkmarks and not human beings. I'm looking at you, Finn and Rose. Anyway, Devo would have been a person with a legitimate diverse background worth exploring. His story would have been fleshed out, and he would have been loved by everyone who watched him, including me. Devo is further described as an outcast and struggling to find his place in the world. He lives in a trailer park that is known as Teepee Town with his parents Win and Johanna. His dad, Win, runs Galaxy Gas.
His dad looks rather jazzy with that saxophone.
He does look pretty chill. Anyway, Tab and Murphy picks up with the presentation and explains that Win has always tried to get Devo to work at Galaxy Gas, but Devo doesn't want that kind of job. Furthermore, he's frustrated with his dad for working at a run-down gas station that hardly anyone visits. In a refreshing flair of honoring family, Murphy explains that Devo respects his dad's intelligence. Ironically, that's also part of the frustration that Devo has with his dad. He knows that his dad has the know-how to get a better-paying job, but is willing to settle with working at this old station. At this point, we're given a pencil test animation for a girl who didn't show up in the fully animated portion of the pitch.
Ooh, she's pretty. I like her.
Looks can be deceiving, Speckles, but yes, she is pretty. Kirk Wise resumes talking at this point and explains the story behind the pencil test girl. Her name is Nicole, and she is described as an army brat who is used to moving around most of her life. She is further described as worldly and quick-witted. She is everything Devo was looking for in a girlfriend, but also apparently everything he can't have.
Why can't Devo have Nicole?
I'm sure the movie would have explained why, but we can only speculate at this point. Maybe her parents didn't want Devo dating their daughter. She is kind of set up as maybe being at odds with her parents, with her being worldly and all. On the other hand, Kirk Wise also explains that Devo wouldn't be caught dead working at his dad's gas station. Perhaps his status in life made him feel inadequate to ask Nicole to become his girlfriend. A third theory might suggest she already has a boyfriend, giving Devo someone to compete with. At any rate, I'm sure Devo would have his happily ever after with her by the end. That's how these things usually play out. Anyway, Devo is finally forced to work at the gas station after he gets into some trouble and has to pay off his resulting debts.
What kind of trouble did he get himself into?
This image shows Devo driving his motorcycle alongside a flashy red car. It's possible he did some street racing and crashed, or something of that nature. Anyway, while Devo is working at the station, he finally discovers that there is more to his father's job than meets the eye. Devo finds out that the gas station is also a nuclear refueling depot for flying saucers. These ships are part of a peacekeeping coalition that protect the Earth from a hostile alien race. At this point, we get a storyboard sequence showing an alien asking Devo where the bathroom is. Devo, unacquainted with alien biology, has a hard time figuring out whether to give the alien the key to the boys' room or the girls' room. His father helpfully steps in and hands him a key that has a question mark. The alien takes the key with the question mark and dashes to the alien's restroom. I, for one, thought this exchange was hilarious. Of course, every sane and rational person knows that each human can only be male or female, and each person remains the same gender from birth until death. This is a fact of life that has been reality since the beginning of humanity. But, in a reality with other sentient species such as Devos, there could be a need for a question mark bathroom to accommodate the complex biology of aliens. But I digress. After the bathroom sequence is finished, Tab Murphy steps back in and resumes the presentation. He explains that the pilots of the saucers are the best of the best. They are like the alien versions of Top Gun fighter pilots. The best among them is Ace Kilgore. Ace, of course, is the tentacled alien who crash-landed in the animated portion of the pitch presentation. In addition to his physical appearance, Ace is described as a cigar-smoking and hard-drinking alien, but also lovable. He is 3.5 feet tall. Devo has a talent for fixing things, as we saw demonstrated in the animated portion at the beginning. Ace is so impressed with Devo's handyman abilities that he makes the boy his own personal mechanic. Later in the movie, a hostile alien race would have invaded Earth, and it would be up to Devo, Ace, and Nicole to take matters into their own hands and tentacles to save the day. The presentation switches back to Kirk Wise at this part. He explains that there's adventure, heart, and humor to the story. It would have come with its own mythology. A lot of the humor would have come from the alien mechanics who idolize Ace, befriend Devo, and help Devo win Nicole's heart.
What is that walking fish?
That, my dear amphibian, is Spike. Spike is Ace's pet. A pencil test animation shows us a blobby alien throwing a bone for Spike to chase. Despite his vicious appearance, Spike is a mushball at heart, though Tab Murphy warns the audience that he still wouldn't get too close to the walking fish alien. Kirk Wise shows up again and starts talking about the team of artists involved with Galaxy Gas. Brian McEntee would have been the production designer. Ruben Aquino was the supervising animator mainly responsible for Ace in the presentation. Nick Ranieri would have been the supervising animator responsible for Nicole. Tab Murphy steps in once again and gives the following summary. Our characters embark on an incredible adventure, one that sees Devo find himself and eventually agree to take over the family business.
Ah, the old trope of taking on the mantle and embracing the very thing you despised, eh?
Indeed, but I usually like that kind of trope. Anyway, Kirk Wise declares that, at its heart, Galaxy Gas is a father and son coming-of-age story told through the eyes of a teenager and his relationship with a tough, yet charming, alien fighter pilot. After the director gives this explanation, the pitch presentation ends with Galaxy Gas in flashing neon lights against the New Mexican background. And that, dear audience, is the end of the pitch presentation. So, Speckles, what did you think?
I think it's a pity we're not getting this movie. I was so pumped and excited for this while we were talking about it.
So was I, Speckles. It is a shame that this movie didn't get greenlit for production. I would have loved to see this come to fruition. Of course, if any of the people involved with the pitch presentation ever see this video, I would advise them to follow Justin Murphy's example and make the movie without the backing of a major studio. It might take longer, but at least the movie would be created for everyone to enjoy. But alas, I don't think any of them will follow my advice. The movie will forever rust in a corner, and all that we will have to remember it by is a viral pitch presentation that shows us what might have been for classic animation. But never will, at least for this film. On the other hand, who knows? Maybe if more people make videos on this and bring attention to it, Galaxy Gas might become a reality as a full-length, classically animated film. Given the genre, it might have even given the Iron Giant a run for its money. But we'll never know, now will we? At any rate, let's try to get #GalaxyGas trending on social media. Maybe we can raise awareness for it and get things going. Anyway, this is the end of the video. If you like this content and wish to see more like it, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I'll make my review of Batman Hush my next big priority, but if any big animation news suddenly pops up, I'll give my thoughts on it.
I'll try to do some little rant videos here and there to fill in the void. I'm already taking issue with this new Ghost and Moldy McGee show on Disney+. Like, seriously, why is Disney giving us animation that is inferior to what it used to give us?
Because Disney is a big, greedy, multinational corporation that has forgotten its roots and its legacy and is satisfied with shoving crap down the throats of customers. Anyway, you'd better save your rants for your videos, Speckles. To my gracious viewers, thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. It means a lot to me. Now, my friends, go forth, be gracious to everyone, and may God bless you.